How's everybody doing? I've had a couple questions recently about some of the gear that I take whenever I do audio work, either with mandarins or with some of my other clients or high school or college or anything like that. Whether it be mixing or installs, there's a lot of stuff that I carry with me when I'm working that maybe is a little bit more specific to the pageantry arts. And then there's some stuff that's kind of audio specific. There's some stuff that's me and preference. I just want to take a little time and kind of answer that in kind of a quick one camera video. I'm going to walk you through my bag that I take with me to rehearsals to fix. I'm going to walk you through some of the other basic big gear that I use whenever I'm doing installs and anything like that. And I'll walk you through some of the decisions, excuse me, walk you through some of the decisions that got me to a lot of that gear and talk about what their pros and cons and features and everything like that are. Before we get started though, I want to just say, if you're already engineering, you have opinions on what's better or worse, especially if you've been doing this for a long time, totally fine. A lot of the things I'm going to talk about are kind of preferences, or I've got a lot of tools in my bag that are kind of older that I haven't upgraded necessarily, or I know that there's better options out there. And a lot of my decisions come, one of them is financially. I don't have an unlimited credit card to just go buy a whole bunch of nice tools. And if I did, I would just hire a roadie to push it around for me in a giant cart, but I don't. So a lot of the decisions for the things that I use on a day-to-day basis whenever I'm mixing or fixing, which is kind of the two jobs, isn't it? Whenever I'm mixing or fixing, a lot of the things I do on a day-to-day basis is based on space. It's based on features and things that I need as a cost-benefit analysis versus financial decisions. And then it's based on just, do I use this thing enough to actually need to carry it? Which is kind of a big question that I think a lot of people don't actually ask themselves enough. So to get started, I do still do, maybe this is a weird thing to say out loud, but I do still do a lot of percussion work. So some of the stuff that you're going to see me use has a multi-purpose or is just kind of a percussion related thing. So I'll kind of mention that along the way. Like there's drum keys in my bag. You don't need those in audio land most of the time, but you know what, you might. Just depends. Maybe your sensory percussion triggers are acting up because you didn't tune your mesh heads. I don't know. But there is some stuff in here, so just bear that in mind. But to start, I'm going to talk about how I go about my process. So if I'm just going to a rehearsal, so if I'm going to a high school client or something to just mix a rehearsal or fix something in their cart, if it's basic, I have a bag. It looks like this. I just use this as, I call it my go bag, my little audio bag. And I chose this bag because it is an electrician style bag. And that just means that it's got like lots of pockets. It's a top-down organization style. It has a flap because I throw this around in my car a lot, so I can actually zip it shut, which is helpful. A lot of electrician style bags you'll see are kind of open, and a lot of them are, they have kind of a shell. They're ribbed in a weird way, so they're not super flexible. I like that this is a more flexible bag, so it's more like a bag as opposed to like a fabric tool box. So I chose it because of that. It has a pocket, and being an electrician style bag, it's a little bit more skinny than it is wide. Some of them are bigger. I wanted something that was small because I'm going to be carrying this around a lot at competitions and game days and things. And a lot of the times I show up to high schools and I throw it on or in the mixer cart just for a time being. And so it's just not getting in the way. The bag itself is a custom leather craft. So it's just an Amazon brand, if you will. I like it a lot. I've been using it for a few months now. I think mostly this season. This is kind of an upgrade for me from what I was using before. It wasn't expensive. It's super nice. Again, it has pockets. That's really all that we ask for. Inside that go bag, there's a few things. Oh, and before we get into that, if I'm doing an install, if I need bigger tools, I obviously carry other tools with me. So I have, the main thing that you won't find in here is a drill. So I carry a bag with a drill and with drill bits and some other bit sets for anything I might need. That bag also has like bigger pliers and a rubber mallet. Sometimes you need it, epoxy, and my Ethernet crimpers are in there and like things like that. I do that. I put my soldering iron in there whenever I take it. So big tools like that, specifically drill and soldering iron and heat gun, end up in that bag. This is just for the quick stuff. So inside my go bag, I already took a couple things out, so I'm gonna put this down. First is gonna be kind of a thing that you need a lot, or sorry, that you might not need a lot, but if you need it, you know you need it. And this is a multimeter. It does volts too. And this is a super cheap one. I bought a super cheap one because it was cheap. I don't care if I break it that much, and it is small. This is one of the, and it has an amp clamp. One of the reasons that I do that is because in this bag specifically, space is a major thing for me. I wanted the bag to be slim, so I kind of designed it with a lot of small tools in mind and with things that were not bulky but were longer and thinner. And so this was a super small multimeter that was really just easy to have in a bag. It comes with a cheap, doesn't matter, but it comes with a cheap little bag that that's easy, and it doesn't need to be nice, it just is. It's got the leads in there too. If you have not used a multimeter, they're probably scary, but it's like one of the best things that you can just kind of have in your arsenal. It will measure continuity. It'll measure actual voltage. It can measure amps a few different ways, actually. It can measure a lot of things, and it can save your butt if you have kind of a more complex problem that can't be solved by one of the tools I'm going to show you in a minute here. So having a multimeter is super key. I don't use this that often. A lot of the times I can figure out the problem pretty quickly before I need to get to a multimeter, but if it stumps me, a multimeter is going to be one of the things that gets there. For instance, we blew a speaker cone at Mandarin's in 23, and so I needed to pull out a multimeter just real quick to test the voice coil resistance, which, by the way, hadn't done that to that point. Didn't really need to. Glad I had one, is what it is. So there, multimeter, great to have. Up next, I have a tape measure. So you're going to notice I don't have a regular tape measure. Hold, please. Keep one real close. So you'll notice that this is like what you would expect a tape measure to look like. Everybody's probably familiar with the kind of rigid kind, right? And these are great. I used to carry one of these all the time, but the problem is over 25 feet, they start to get bulky or not worth it because they're going to be thinner and they're not going to hold up and blah, 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 blah. So pros of this, I can do this, right? And we've all done that before. In fact, we were at the Atlanta stadium this year and had to measure the ceiling for our props. And so this was great for that, and just a pinch, like really quickly grab a 25-foot tape measure and figure it out. Cons of this, 25 foot. So if you ever need to measure anything 30 feet or more, you either need a bigger tape measure or you need to do the thing where you measure 25 feet and put a little mark, and then you measure 25 more feet, and then people are standing there watching you, and then you look like an idiot. It's not fun. So I decided, screw this, I'm gonna get a bigger tape measure. So this is a 100-foot Milwaukee. This is one of the kind of roll ones. It doesn't automatically retract. It's a manual retract, and it's flimsy. But I like this a lot because this is about the same footprint. It's slightly bigger and flatter. So it's about the same. It fits volume-wise. It fits in the bag really well, and it's 100 feet. So if you need to measure distances between, if you got to measure two speakers that are 20 yards apart, you can actually just do it with this and not hassle with all the other options, which really just bug me. So great to have. Glad I bought it. Super cheap. Fits in the bag. Does all the things. And it prevents anyone from watching you try and measure speakers the long way and then getting upset and then telling you to measure out an extension cord and lay down. It's a mess. So glad I have this. I would consider this a necessary tool. So moving on. Other thing that I got, I'm kind of working back to forward in my bag here. This is one of the essential tools that is unnecessary. There is no other alternative, and their other opinions are wrong. If you think that my cheapo multimeter is dumb, that's fine. And if you think that me carrying a tape measure at all is dumb, that's fine. Or if you think that I should carry one of these, that's fine. But this is you must have it. I think there's a couple other versions of them. I like this. If you're familiar with Dave Ratt, this is SoundTools and his company, and this is an XLR sniffer sender. What this is a two-piece thing, and it's actually two XLR ends. It's a male and a female, and then on the other end, it's got one of them has 3 lights. You can see whenever I do this, it's got 3 lights that light up green. And what this does is it tests XLRs to see if you have a short or a loose connection or something's wrong with them remotely. So in our activity, if you're talking marching arts, this is also great in basically all sound applications, but in marching arts specifically, if you have a marimba with a cable on it and it's zip tied to it and it's broken or something's wrong with it and you need to test it, your options are get a cable tester and plug one end of that into the cable tester. And if you don't have a lot of slack, that can also be super annoying. And then get another long cable, plug that into the other end of the cable tester and run that into the other end. And then you have to make sure that the cable that you're using also works. So it's annoying. This, by the way, what I'm doing is bad. I'll tell you in just a second. But this tells you if you've got 3 green lights, your XLR is good. And if you don't, there's a little chart in the box that I keep too that's really great. But you can plug them on either end of the keyboard without having to use another cable tester or another cable. And this can go down multiple cables. So if I have a cable like on a one marimba on the end of the line, for instance, that has a bad, like I'm not getting signal on the board, you can plug this into the mic side. Sorry, wrong one. And you can plug this into the end of the drop snake all the way at the end of the mixer and test it. And if it says bad, okay, then you can go to the next step until it says good, and then you can identify where the problem is. So it can do multiple cables, it can do blah, blah, blah. It's great. One thing that I was just showing you, if you get one of these, don't store it like this because there's a battery in the female side and you will just run the battery out. So you do have to kind of keep it. I like to keep it in the box. You don't have to keep it in the box, but the box holds. It kind of keeps it safe. It also holds the little card that I was talking about that shows you all the different ways that things can be bad, etc., etc. It's great. I recommend it. These can be had for about $60 on Amazon. They're infallible tools. Not infallible, but they're priceless. Let's go with that. They're great. SoundTools XLR Sniffer Sender. Also in here, I keep some basic stuff, and you can tell, I'll kind of show you some of these pockets too while I'm sitting here. This is a great bag. It has some kind of a big pocket space here and then some smaller pockets, which I'm about to pull out these Sharpies, and then a bigger tool pocket with some webbed belt style stuff and then some inner pockets, etc. It's great. So since it has little pen-sized pockets, I keep great things to have, which are Sharpies and a pencil, a pen, a black Sharpie, dual tip, gotta have it, and then some metallic ones. They make a couple different types of metallic Sharpies. They make ones that are just Sharpie, and then they make the ones that are, the word is escaping me, but like more thick gel style. Those are good. These are the regular ones. If you need to write on colored electrical tape that's dark, these will do. Also, I just like writing on stuff in silver a lot anyway, or if you need to write on gaff tape, by the way, we do that a lot. Silver is better because you can see it better when it's dark, and we play a lot of shows at night a lot of the time. So that's great. Also in that pocket, well, I'll go kind of side to side. One other thing I keep in here that's absolutely essential is an outlet tester. This is one thing that a lot of people will disagree on me with. That's fine. I would probably also disagree with. I bought one with the screen, has an internal battery and everything, and it'll tell you, it has lights on the bottom for, good, bad, open ground, etc. And then it'll tell you real voltage on the screen. Pros and cons. The screen gets scratched up. In fact, this one's pretty beaten. Does need a battery, can die, things like that. If I did it again, I'd probably buy the other one that doesn't have a screen because they're a little bit more durable, and then they are cheaper and they are smaller. I know I said a lot of things about size. This is close to negligible and it still works, so I'm going to keep using it. I don't know when I bought this, forever ago. So Outlet testers are good. You don't want to show up and have none of your gear work and then have somebody blame your gear when it's the short power that's just bad the whole time. So have an outlet tester. On the other side, I keep a utility knife, just a razor blade. These are great for everything. You might need to open a cardboard box, or you might need to trim down a cable that doesn't fit in your cable strippers, right, or your wire strippers. So that's what this comes in handy for. And if you're thinking about like extra durable or really, really thick, like 12 gauge extension cord that you need to cut, that does not fit in wire strippers most of the time, at least not the small ones. So this is great. I keep some spare blades in here, etc., all that stuff. And the last thing that's kind of a small tool is this guy. This is a precision screwdriver. This is a special precision screwdriver, and I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but it's fine. This is a Linus Tech Tips LTT store precision screwdriver. You can get a million of them. One of the main cases that we need in this activity for precision screwdrivers is any small equipment that might need to be opened or messed with. I don't know, wireless packs, stuff like that. I don't need to do that often, but you might. Never depends, or never. You never know. It does depend. But the main one is in the new Neutrik. And some people say Neutrik. Fight me about it. And the new Neutrik stuff, right? The inside of Speak-On and PowerCon cables is a Torx T8, which I have right there. And so I like to carry these around. I used to carry kind of a little fixed shaft, just T8 driver. I think that's on a football field somewhere. Oops. So I have this right now, and I actually like this a lot better for a couple reasons. One, has internal bit storage, which I just showed you. Carries 3 bits in the back, which is good because the amount of times that a band director has come up to me and said, do you have a small screwdriver? And I say, yeah, I've got one that's got a little flathead and a Phillips head in it. You can make a lot of friends for when the saxophone player's instrument dies. It's just good to have. Don't lend your tools out unless you know you're getting them back. Disclaimer. But if you need to, you have it. And 2, it's a nice driver. It's a full metal enclosure, right? It's got some nice knurling on it. It's a good size. I don't like the super tiny stuff if I can avoid it. And it has this spin top, which I want my precision screwdrivers to have, of course, right? But this spin top is fun because it has a ceramic bearing in it. You can probably hear that. And that ceramic bearing will spin for ever, I think. No, not really. Like over a minute. So it's pretty sweet because it's a ceramic bearing that'll spin for a long time. I'll put this in my pocket at rehearsal sometimes and just do this. Not helpful, but it's nice to have. It's a fidget toy. It's a great screwdriver, period. It's $30. It's more expensive than it needs to be, but I already had precision bits, so it didn't matter. That's that. Coming up after that, we'll talk about the main tools in the tool bag. A lot of these are preferential for me. Mainly the first one is the most preferential. I carry a pair of angled needle nose. You can see these are pretty old and decrepit. I've had them this might be the oldest tool in this bag. The amount of times that I've needed needle nose pliers and the angle has been helpful is weirdly more than you would expect. So I keep carrying them. They're small, they're nondescript. These are probably dollar store needle nose pliers from 10 years ago, but they're small, they don't get in the way. This would probably be one of the first things out of my tool bag just for space wise and the amount of times that it could be replaced by other more different straight needle nose. But they're both good to have and they take up almost no space, so I keep them both. Other than that, on the plier ends, I also have regular pliers, right? Whatever the right term for these is, I forget. Great to have. If you don't have a PowerCon removal tool, the new ones for the XX connectors, in a pinch, this can get one of those off. I don't recommend it. You're going to mar your connectors, but if you need to, this can do it. I also carry needle nose, big needle nose, because you need those a lot of the time. You never know. I don't know. I got to pop out a quick disconnect panel, punch out or something. I don't know. You never know. Needle nose pliers are great. Have them. You can find them for cheap on Amazon. Kind of running through these. I hope that these are pretty obvious. I also carry carry an adjustable wrench. Also, if you need to pop off a PowerCon or a SpeedCon connector, these are great. These are better. They won't mar your connectors as much, but you know, I also don't need this that much, but it's when you do need it, it's really good to have, and it can be more like a general band tool. So need to have it. Also, for percussion people, this helps me a lot when adjusting tenors and things. So good to have. Lastly, kind of the main, other one that's related, speaking of, screwdriver. I also carry a big screwdriver, 12-bit storage. This is just a Home Depot special, Milwaukee kind of thing. One thing that's underrated about screwdrivers, though, while we're on the topic, is in our activity, and in a lot of things, having a shaft extension is super critical, because if you don't have a drill, which I just mentioned, I bring, most of the time I have one in my car. I don't walk onto a football field assuming I need a drill a lot of the time. So if you don't have a drill and you need to screw in or unscrew one thing on a rack, this can be helpful. But a lot of the racks on our carts, it's not IT land where you can get into things sometimes easier if it's like an open rack or something. On our pageantry and Synced Up and other carts, the rack rails are often really, really close to the side on the ends of the cart. So if you have just a regular flat screwdriver or regular stubby screwdriver, that's not going to get in there enough. So having a shaft extension is good. And this just means that my screwdriver is half size as opposed to having to walk around with a fixed shaft screwdriver that's this long. So having a shaft extension is great. I also use this, it goes in the drill. So I don't have to worry about another shaft extension. I can just kind of keep a Phillips head in here all the time. And then if I need a drill, I pull this out, stick it in the drill, done. Or I stick it in the screwdriver, done. So there's my little PSA on have a good screwdriver, make sure it has a shaft extension, etc. Last two things in here, not last two things in here, are things that cut things. So I have a pair of flat scissors. I like the real skinny small ones, and this might not be that obvious. These are not expensive. I've had these forever. Part of the other reason of the design of the things that I carry with me, and I use this mostly for electrical tape, by the way. One of the most important things with the things that I carry is the size, and I find that a lot of the times if I need a big tool, I'm just going to go get the big tool because I need it for something. If I need a drill, a screwdriver is not going to do the job, right? If I need a hammer, this is not going to do the job a lot of the time. Not if you need a hammer. If you just need something to hit something real quick, that's different. Go grab a drumstick. But I find that small tools will do big tools' job better than big tools will do small tools' job. Because if you need a big tool, you're just going to do it. Right? If you need a small tool, you need a small tool because you need to get in somewhere or it's in danger. So I like small tools, which is why I have small scissors. Speaking of small tools, things that are essential, flush cutters. These are for cutting zip ties, among other things. If you are in the pageantry marching arts and you do not have these in your mixer cart and you are zip tying anything to anything ever, buy them. They are like $5 on Amazon. These are designed to cut the zip ties as close to the part that you put the zip tie in through. I don't know if there's a word for that. As close to flush as possible so that they don't cut your fingers and appendages. If you've ever had a hand slip and you've cut, just done like a paper cut on the hand or something else from a zip tie, you know it's infuriating. And I'm going to beg every educator right now to ask yourselves the question, what if that happened to you right before you had to go play a really hard marching band show, like right on your finger, right? If you're a marimba player and you got to hold 4 mallets and you get a paper cut right there in the middle, that's going to ruin your day and your production might suffer because of it. And no one likes that. So just get a pair of flush cutters. Don't cut them with scissors. Get a pair of flush cutters. They're cheap. I don't know what brand this is. I'm going to do, dude. CHP? QHP, something like that. I'm going to do my best to pull up as many of the links that I have for all of these specific tools as possible and put them in the description of this video, just so you know. These are great. Any brand or whatever is fine, probably. I do like the ones that are small like this that are spring-loaded. I have in the past bought some of them that are longer and more built and that have like built-in wire strippers and stuff like that. I don't find it useful. These are just a great start. Other stuff in here, things that cut things, I carry, oops, not that. I carry a pair of wire cutters, just straight up big boy wire cutters. These are great if I need to cut like a big cable, big power con or extension cable or something. These work. And then I carry a pair of wire strippers that also have a cutter in them, but it can be more annoying to put big cable in here. So I just don't, but if you need to strip anything small, right, these are great, and they have a built-in cutter right here. So there you go. There's a lot of other great options for these. Again, these are all brands and models that you might not like. Please find whatever you enjoy. Your mileage may vary, of course, but I got these at Home Depot. They work. That's all I really care about. And they're not some gaudy, bright yellow. I know some people prefer that so they can see their tools, but I don't. So, lastly, this one is a big preference that people are going to be upset at me about, but I like Allen keys that aren't on the attached spindle set thing. I actually still carry Allen keys individually. So I have an Imperial and a metric set from Craftsman. If you're gonna buy Allen keys, especially for what we do where things are in the weather and get kind of worn down and destroyed, get the ones with the ball end on them. This is designed so that if you are trying to insert into an Allen key slot that is maybe not at the perfect angle, you can actually insert these at, sorry, I'm not trying to flip you off. Let me do that. You can insert these at an angle, and the way that they've designed it will mean that you can still remove Allen keys or at least loosen them with the ball end. So these are a great tool to have. There's some specific sizes you might need or whatever. I just tried to get the biggest range that I can find, and I find that to be the most helpful. This one goes 1/16 to 3/8, and then I believe 1.5 to 10. Yeah, 10 millimeters to 1.5 millimeters. These are great. If you like them in a set so that you don't lose one or another, that's fine. I like this better because I hate holding, like a lot of people probably, I hate holding that set, especially if it's loose, and then you're trying to turn the thing and it just gets annoying. I'd rather just give me an Allen key and let me get it out and then let me put it back. It takes more time to maybe find the right one because you got to pull these out and put them back. Preference be damned, that's how I feel about it. So I carry Allen keys with me. And I believe that's it for the inside of the bag. The only other thing that's inside of the bag is there's another pocket in here, and it has inside of it 2 big T keys for percussion stuff, and then it has also 2 of the drum key drill bit from Gibraltar. And then I also carry a super underrated tool in the percussion world, a tenor wrench. And this is from a set of Pearl tenors, is whatever they ship with. So I know that it's exactly the right size for most tenor inner parts, so I can fix them, especially if I'm in indoor and I'm trying to flatten them, which seems to happen all the time around the spring. So that's what I carry on the inside. On the outside of the bag, I've got some other stuff. Here's the front. One thing I like about these bags is this one actually comes with a tape, like an electrical tape holder. It does not fit my multicolored tape, which is on a different thing, but it does fit at least some reinforced packing tape. This is another percussion thing. This is what I put on snare guts. Shout out to Taha and the team for pointing me towards packing tape, especially the reinforced kind. I don't know why. I like it. It's probably not better than stick tape or whatever else anybody else is using, but I like the packing tape. So, and then black electrical tape, I just keep here because I don't use it for labeling anything. This is just for fixing stuff, soldering, etc. Black electrical tape, good to have. Before we get to the kind of main thing when we're on the tape idea, this is my electrical color coding tape. I'm gonna get so much flack for this, and I'll explain why. If you are a marching arts person, you're screaming, going, stop, please use the Scotch brand stuff. I know. I'm gonna get some when this runs out. But I tried this and there's things I actually really like. I don't know what this is. I'll find it on Amazon again, go through my history and put it in the description. This is just another no-name brand. It wasn't that much cheaper. It was a little cheaper, but I wanted to try it for this reason. This stuff is way brighter. I don't know how well that's going to show up on camera. It looks pretty bright to me right now. But this stuff is way brighter than the Scotch stuff, which is a little bit more glossy. So it's a little bit harder to see in like low light. Nothing makes me madder than when I'm in a dark rehearsal. I don't know, some stadiums are more well lit than others. Sometimes you're behind a marimba and it's got some shadow and you can't tell the difference in between brown and green or something like that. It infuriates me. So I tried the brighter tape and I love the brighter tape. I know some people don't like that it's more visible if you're farther away from the instrument, things like that. I think that students do, I feel like I've had students respond better with the brighter tape because it's easier to discern some of the colors, right? I still don't love the brown, but it's fine. But I like this tape a lot. The only thing is it doesn't stick well to other stuff as much. So if I put this on a patch panel, a lot of times it comes off unless you really pay attention to it and make sure you get it on there first on a clean surface the first time. So I don't like that. But what I will say is it does stick to itself pretty well. As long as you get like 2 wraps around a whole shell of an XLR, it does stick pretty well. So if people are going to be upset, that's fine. I like this tape a lot. I'm probably still going to go with the Scotch brand just because of the adhesiveness after this. But, you know, be damned, I tried it. So if you're wondering why I have so many colors, if you're not familiar with this, by the way, this is a resistor color coding system that we use most of the time in audio. It goes brown, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, gray, pink, right? Or yes, gray, pink is optional. I carry pink tape with me just because it's good to have, and then another roll of white. But these brown, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, gray are the first 8 colors, and that's a really good number for 8-channel mod snakes and 4-channel cat snakes. So a lot of our stuff you'll see is brown, red, orange, yellow. And then if I have a secondary snake, it'll be green, blue, purple, gray. And if I have a mod snake, it'll be all 8 of them. I don't like doing there's some people and some groups that still do the red, yellow, blue, green only, or sometimes other colors. And then they'll do like double red, double yellow, where they do stripes. It's too ambiguous. I've rolled up to shows too many times and had a student plug something in wrong because of my color coding system. So this is better. I've been doing this for a couple years. More than that, I guess. Depends. I don't know. I've had this colored tape for I think about a year now. It's great. Scotch tape is also fine too. Again, I like the bright colors, but rant over, use resistor color coding tape. This is just on a webbed strap with a carabiner. That's the right way to do it, in my opinion. Some people carry it differently. I don't know, I don't care. But this is good. So there's that. That just kind of hangs on the back of my bag all the time. It's not the most comfortable, but it is what it is. And then lastly, for the go bag, is I carry this. You might not see it that well. This is a SoundTools Sound Bullet. And this is the only, yeah. Is that true? Yeah, this is the only tool that I would really feel comfortable saying that there is no replacement, there is no solution, there is no other option. You need to own one of these if you want to do any kind of sound work, probably ever. They're expensive. This is a $300 tool. What it comes with is a great case. It comes with one of these little male-to-male 1/4-inch jacks, and inside of that case it has an actual receiving jack so that it doesn't fall out. It's got a nice magnet on it. It's got a carabiner on the back, kind of built in. It's a great case. Inside, you have the actual sound bullet. Looks like this. All right, it's just a kind of device. Sorry, I put it in front of my face so it focuses. It's a device that has a male XLR and a female XLR on one end, and then it's got a 1/4-inch jack on the front side. This is an everything unit. So This newest version is USB-C rechargeable, so it's a rechargeable battery. It is robust. It's coated in this kind of scratchy stuff. I know they've done some work on the coating from like the Gen 1 to the Gen 2. This is really good. I've had no problems with it coming off. What it does is it tests. It's a built-in cable tester. I know, expensive cable tester. Don't freak out. But what the main thing that it does, it is a pocket signal generator, internal speaker for testing line outputs. It has 1/4 inch jack for doing that same thing over 1/4 inch, etc. And it will do signal so on the switches here, you can see it's like a little yellow light. It'll do signal at 1 kilohertz, and it's a really accurate 1 kilohertz. It'll do it at -10, -40, and -20, in that order actually. dB, there's a little switch. It'll also do white noise on there. So, and you can tell, let's see. You can tell here that you can hear, has an internal speaker. It'll get even louder if you want. And there's your noise. So it will do both of those things. It will, use case scenario, sorry. Explaining this thing is really hard because I want to try and keep it dumbed down, but I also want to tell you all the awesome things that it does. Signal generator, if you're not familiar, you can take this and plug it into an input on your mixing console or your stage box or whatever, and it will generate a really clean 1 kilohertz or noise signal. And you can tell if there's anything wrong with your preamp or somewhere in your console, input by input. So every season before I get started, or in a lot of schools, especially if it feels like something's wrong with the mixer, I'll take this, plug it into every input, and check, okay, is that exactly 1 kilohertz tone? Is it exactly -20, etc.? Is there some noise drop? Is there some signal loss? Is there some noise in general, etc.? It will generate that. It'll be clean. You don't have to use the onboard signal generator, which if you use an onboard signal generator, it doesn't actually check the preamp. It just sends stuff to outputs. So this will check a physical preamp for you. You can then use the other end, and you can use an onboard signal generator on your console to test the outputs. So you can use this, turn it on, make sure that it's set correctly, right? And then plug this into the outputs of your console, and you can say, okay, there is actually noise coming out of this output. One little speaker. You don't need to plug anything into a wall to check it. You don't need to use headphones or an interface. None of that stuff. You can check a physical output is what you want to come out of this jack, coming out of this jack, right? So it'll do both of those things. It's a pocket cable tester. I use that sometimes. It's fun, I guess, right? It'll also has a headphone jack on it there too. So I've seen a lot of people use it recently as in a pinch monitor. This is almost funny. In a pinch, if you forgot your in-ear amp, plug a mono signal up to it and strap it to your side and put headphones in, that's fine too. But the other thing that it does that has saved my butt so many times is it does phantom power check. And you can see up top here, right next to the headphone, there's a little 2 right there. Little 2 pin there. And it'll tell you on pins 2 and 3, and it's labeled, if there's phantom power coming down on those pins. And if you are using anything that needs phantom power and you don't have signal, but you know your XLR works, this will save you. Because just because your XLR has continuity doesn't mean that it's passing phantom power correctly. This will tell you, especially if you're using snakes, like cat boxes or anything, where you've got a lot of connections kind of built in, or you're going down an Ethercon cable where there's a lot more wires on the inside of the cable. This has saved my behind a whole bunch. So a sound bullet is great. If you can afford it and you want to be serious about the thing, this will do the job. So with that, that's everything in the go bag. Some other stuff that I carry around with me. I've got some stuff here. One is a little baby flashlight. This is an O-light. I mean, you might not be able to tell how bright that is, but hopefully that comes across like I'm in broad daylight and that's a pretty bright spot on my hand. You can do that too. This is an O-light i3T2 EOS. It's a AAA battery. I don't know if that was obvious, but this is a 25-foot tape measure. That's the flashlight. It's really small. I love this. I don't normally carry this in my go bag. I carry this in my backpack just because I need it for other life things a lot too. I'm probably going to get another one and put it in the go bag though, because if you're at a dark rehearsal, these are great. I got tired of using my phone flashlight all the time, so I just, one of these, it doesn't hurt. Other stuff, earplugs are important. I use Eargasm. I think they're great. I like them better than the erasers. I have those too. I think that they're easier to not lose, and they're comfortable, and they're still clean, and they sound good. So I use Eargasms. So if anybody's curious, I have a level here. I still carry this, actually. I started doing this in my master's degree when I was playing drums, and I would always get pissed off because I thought they weren't that level, and I would check and I'd be like, you're right, that's slightly not level. I think it's fun to have a bubble level. If you don't already know, if you have like an iPhone, or if you have anything else, probably, if you have a phone, it probably has a built-in gyro, and so you can have a level on your phone that'll tell you specific angles. So have a level that you can have at rehearsals to check speaker angles and to check all kinds of stuff. It's great to have. This is a tool to remember to tell you that, but bubble levels are awesome. Levels that are digital are even better. Another thing that I don't have that's in my other big tool bag, I mentioned drill, soldering iron, bits. Ethernet crimpers are really great. Laser tape measure that I also don't carry like every day, but have one. Things like that are great. As far as Ethernet crimpers go, I don't need them that much. I'm not making new Ethernet or not making anything that needs like extra network cable that much, but I do at home. So they're in my kind of other bag. One thing that I don't have that I kind of want to experiment with that maybe somebody can tell me if they really actually do like it. A lot of people are making custom Ethernet testers specifically for like grounded Ethercon connections and things like that. If you are doing that a lot, like if your school has those, it might not be a bad investment. I know some people are doing the custom ones that I've seen online, so I'm probably going to pick one up at some point. They're great, supposedly. So there's another tool you might need that I actually don't own. I also have an interface. This is my super old 2x2 that I bought. I don't even know how long ago. The 2x2 is great, I guess, but this is another tool to remind me to tell you to have something else. I don't recommend carrying an interface around with you, obviously. But if you can get a pocket recorder, if you're doing especially serious work, or if you're working with a drum corps that needs to do outputs for flow, then having something to actually test what's coming out of those outputs and record it so you can listen later for noise or for giant volume discrepancies or anything is great. It's nice to have like one of these, but that's not really going to help you in the moment, especially if there's a loud band playing. This is more for testing continuity and system health, whereas recording your outputs is going to be better just in general for testing like what the signal is. So an interface is fine. If you have a big interface and you want to do that, that's fine. But if you have like a pocket recorder, like a Zoom H6 or whatever, that can be really great to record all of your outputs all at once and then go back and check them later. So have that. I also carry an iPad. Hopefully everybody knows the power of iPads and mixing softwares. If you have a digital console that you can control with an iPad and a Wi-Fi router, I recommend, even if you don't use it on a daily basis, just have it at rehearsals and be ready, because you never know if you need to go open the box. I'll get to that. So you never know if you need to go open the box and listen, or if you need to be changing. Something that happens to me all the time is I'll walk around on the field with this and be unmuting soloist and mixing, not really mixing, but doing my choreography while I'm teching a battery. I also recommend not doing that if you can avoid it, but I have to do it a lot, so I carry an iPad. Disclaimer, if you are using digital mixing consoles that you don't like the software for, go get Mixing Station. It's super powerful, especially if you're using like a Yamaha TF, or like an X32. I don't mind the Allen and Heath stuff that much. I know a lot of people disagree with me on that, but I'm just saying I don't mind the SQ and Advantis software as much. I haven't done much with DLive because most of the time I'm working with anything DLive. I'm just at a Surface, I guess, right? Or I'm on my computer, right? I'm not on iPad that much, but I like those. I do not like the X32 and especially the TF app, so Mixing Station is cool. Other things that I carry to rehearsal while we're at it, I also carry a big 150-foot Ethernet cable so that when I do go mix from a box, I don't have to worry about shoddy Wi-Fi connections. I can just use a cable. So do that if you can, if you have that capability. It's so much better. It's changing everything about the way I do stuff, especially when you're talking about if your mixer is hardwired into your network, but your synth cart is Wi-Fi'd into that router. I find the most latency and annoyance to be me trying to Wi-Fi to a router to control a wireless network connected device as opposed to a hardwire connected device. So disclaimer on that, I guess. Lastly, this is something that I think a lot of people overlook. This stays in my one more thing before we get into that. Headphones, I use M50Xs. I know a lot of people disagree with this. Sorry, but they sound fine. I know they're not the world's greatest sounding headphones, but they're not expensive and they sound fine and they have not broken. I've had these for 2 DCI tours now and years before, probably 5 or 6 years before that, and they still sound the same. They still work. They fold up nice. I don't think they feel that bad, and they are leatherette on the ear cups. So even though it might be slightly hotter, a lot of people say it gets warm or it sits too flat or blah, blah, blah. They clean better than cloth. So if you're out and being sweaty in marching band, which we all are, I think these are a great option. My 2 cents. All right, this last one, I know this is a long video, sorry, but I want to take the time and explain all the things I use and why. This last one, I think it's overlooked a lot. This is my cable bag, and I literally carry this with me almost everywhere, mostly because even when I'm teaching, like I teach at a college right now, even when I'm teaching there and I'm teaching Ableton stuff, if somebody needs to wire out of an interface or I need to split headphone connections or anything, it's nice to have this. So this is an old bag that came with a laptop case for a laptop I don't even have anymore, but I kept the bag. It's just a small, again, for size reference, it's like a couple tape measures big. It's thick-ish, but it opens up and it's got a lot of space in it. It's got like a couple pockets. This is where I keep, it's got a little zipper pocket that has like an extra flash drive with some of my show files on it and other stuff, and headphone adapters. Everybody knows, like, we can't have too many of these, right? I also have, what else is in here while we're at it? Oh, a couple things that are helpful, right? So one, we've got SD card adapter for micro to full-size SD. And then lastly, I've got a bunch of these RCA couplers. Not a bunch, I have 2, right? Because RCA and stereo. These RCA couplers, I don't know the last time I used it, but it cost almost nothing to carry a couple of these around, and you never know when you're going to need them. Especially if you're working with a console that still has RCAs on the back. Cough, cough, Yamaha, TF, thank you, not. So that's the little stuff, but as far as cables go, this is great because I have one of everything. So we'll start here. I carry a 25-foot Ethernet cable. Doesn't hurt. When was the last time I needed this? Engineering for Flow. Had this in my back pocket. Needed to get on the network in the press box. I don't know why they were like, they wouldn't give us the Wi-Fi password, or maybe they would and it was just more annoying than it was worth because university, Wi-Fi networks or whatever. So Ethernet cable, it doesn't break. It works. Well, it does break, but it's not worse than Wi-Fi ever, frankly. So, and it doesn't hurt to carry one. USB A to C cable, it doesn't hurt to have like 3 of those, right? USB A to B cable. If you're using a Mac, some people prefer to have the USB C to B cable because it's the right cable. sure, whatever, right? But these are good for MIDI controller broke. Check the USB cable. If you're disclaimer, if you're still using 5-pin, or if you're still using USB MIDI and you have the capability to use 5-pin, just use 5-pin. I've said that a couple times. USB micro B. We all know this connector. We hate it. I carry one because you never know when you're going to run into a thing that needs this to charge or something. So there's that. I carry a MIDI 5-pin female to TRS micro. This is not as applicable in marching arts, but sometimes it is. You know, you might have your controller might die and somebody might come up with a random small MIDI controller that just has TRS MIDI and you might need to adapt. There's some other MIDI. I wouldn't necessarily recommend these. I think it's Roland that makes the universal one that has the different pin outs and stuff. I just have this, so I keep it. I carry a couple short USB cables. So this is another A to C. This is a C to C, specifically a Thunderbolt. Just doesn't hurt. I don't know. And a lot of times I show up and I need to plug stuff in. Remember, this is also my all cables. So my all cables bag. So when I go to teach and I need to plug in an interface and a MIDI controller and things like that, it's good to have. And then lastly, a couple more pockets. I have an RCA to 1/8 inch cable. Again, if you need to test speakers, you need to plug into a mixer that has only stereo and RCA, cough, Yamaha TF, right? These exist. Or if it's a mixer that has both, I have 1/4 inch leads to 1/8 inch. This one's a female. This is a just super easy adapter. I also carry an aux cable, an 1/8 inch cable. So I have that. I also carry a kind of dock style adapter. Everybody needs one of these. This is how I have my Ethernet to my MacBook. And then it has power delivery, micro, and mini, and no, that was also micro. And then full-size SD card reader, excuse me. And then an HDMI. I have a MacBook with an M2 in it, so I don't need the HDMI that often, but you never know. I have RCA female to 1/8 inch. I don't remember the last time I used this, but it doesn't hurt. I have another one of these guys, these 1/4 to 1/8 inch adapters. I carry it, I don't know why. I have a 1/4 inch. This is just a pass-through jack. It's just a right angle 1/4 inch jack. It's fun. It's nice to have. So, here's a couple things that you just need. This is a XLR male to 1/4 inch. Does not hurt. Sometimes you got a weird microphone input, etc. This has helped me a lot. And then these guys. These are XLR turnarounds. The amount of times my life has been saved by an XLR turnaround. It's male on that end, it's male on that end, it's female on that end, it's female on that end. Even in a pinch, they're really, really great to have. So XLR turnarounds. All right, put all this back in this pocket. And then now, last but not least, I know it's a lot of cables, but I promise I have used every single one of them at some point. Last but not least, this is my kind of 1/8 inch pocket. So I have a dongle for my iPhone. I have USB-C to 1/8 inch there because I have an iPhone 15. If you have a different one and you need a lightning connector, that's fine. But I have one of these. This is great because headphone jacks are dead and that sucks, right? And then I have a regular 1/8 inch cable. And then I also have a headphone splitter, which I mentioned can be really great. I even use this on tour whenever I'm mixing and I have another engineer next to me that we can split the headphones and we can both listen to whoever's in the box. Then I have, as mentioned before, an 1/8 inch cable. Hopefully that's kind of a use. And then lastly, I have I think this is 15-foot 1/8 inch extension. So it's a right angle 1/8 inch there, and then it's a female there. This is great because sometimes you got to go really far, and I'm actually a fan in this case. I have a lot of stuff in this bag that is 1/8 inch specific, just because of plugging phones and laptops up to test mixers and things, or I started using that 15 foot extension whenever I needed to teach at another college, where I had to plug into the classroom sound system, like it was in an AV cabinet. And so the AV cabinet was on the side of the room and I needed to sit in the middle. So I just needed to get all the way up there. So it's really good to have. And the cable kind of discussion, I actually prefer, if it's going to be a common use case, like 1/8" cables, sometimes 1/4 inches. I have a 1/4 inch extension I carry with me sometimes for headphones and things. If it's going to be a common cable, I'd prefer to just have an extension as opposed to have like, okay, this is an RCA to 1/8" and it's 6 feet or 10 feet. And then there's a regular 1/8" cable and it's 6 feet or 10 feet. And then here's another version that's 6 feet or 10. And then you just have a whole bunch of cable. Whereas these are all 1.5 or 3 feet. And then I just have an extension of some sort. So I find that more helpful. Anyway, I think that's all the goodies and stuff. Like I said, I'm going to try to get as much of this in a video description as I can. I'm sorry this video is like an hour long, but that's all the stuff I use. So it kind of has to be. I'm happy to answer questions, etc. But like I said, if you're trying to do more like the approach of a go bag, or you're just curious about what kind of equipment and things, I guess I hope this was helpful, but go ask other people and get some opinions, because everybody's opinion on what's good and what's bad is different. And it's really nice to just kind of see what people are using. And remember, all of this is from a couple years of trying stuff out and failing. I mean, I've been doing audio stuff with marching bands in some capacity since pre-COVID kind of. So it just depends. I've tried a bunch of other stuff and things have fallen apart and things have worked and some things haven't. And if it's still in the bag, it obviously hasn't broken. So that's the most kind of endorsement that I'll do for any of my tools, with the exception of the Sound Bullet. Anything that Sonnect makes and that Rat Sound makes, sure. But other than that, these are all just tools. They're all just things that help me do my job. And if you have a better way of doing it, that's fine too. Or if you want to take and steal or whatever, that's fine too with me. I'm totally okay with that. But I just want this to be helpful and for somebody to kind of pick up like, oh, maybe that's a good thing to just kind of have in my back pocket, right? These are all tools that help me do my job, whether it be teaching college electronic music and sound design, or going on tour with a drum corps, or just going to a little high school that's just making synth sounds, or any other thing that I do. Like a lot of these tools carry over when I'm making cables for completely unrelated purposes. I use a lot of the things in this bag. Or when I'm going to teach, like I said, these are the cables that I use to plug up to stuff every day. Editing Griffin here. I remembered as I was as I was doing the description for this video and getting all the links, I forgot one thing that I kind of have with me a lot that doesn't always live in the bag, but kind of floats around. And that's a good pair of gloves. These are, there's a couple different styles, but gloves in general are great to have for anything audio, especially if you're stagehanding or anything like that, you know that. But specifically for what we do, I find them to be the best use for sheathing cables with Tech Flex, because it'll just burn your hands eventually as you start running it through, especially if you do, I don't know, a couple 100 feet in a day, which I've done a couple times now. So it's good to have for gloves for that. And then also occasionally out in the Texas sun, carts get hot, or Arizona sun as it is now. Carts can get hot, especially the kind of all metal carts that we have. So I prefer actually the kind of closed, just handyman style. I picked these up on sale, I think last Christmas, because I had burned through my first pair, or my other pair. I guess I don't know how many of these I've burned through now at this point, but I know some people like the fingerless. That's a little bit more actual stage handy. It depends, but I kind of like a full close style, like you might use in other hand tasks, right? So anybody that's constructing or woodworking or any other kind of handy thing, or like yard work even sometimes, just quick thought, felt like I couldn't do a video and not kind of mention that thing. So get yourself a pair of gloves, especially around Christmas, Black Friday. I always end up picking up a pair because they're pretty cheap anyway. So hope this helps. With that said, again, I hope this is helpful. Reach out if you have questions or anything, and then I'll see everybody later. Thank you for sitting and listening if you made it to the end of this. So.